Hello everyone and welcome back to Pacific Rim Theory with the new trailer for the last season of The Black just released. I thought it would be fun to do a breakdown and give a bit of an insight into what's in store for this new season. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first thing we see is Atlas Destroyer and the boy in his kaiju form battling a kaiju eel. Already seeing that the boy could take the kaiju down on his own shows how strong he is, and this could really affect how future battles with the kaiju go. His raw strength could be a huge advantage for them, and with that cute thumbs up from Atlas Destroyer at the end, it seems that they also agree. Next, we see the kids traveling in a desert until Taylor says,
"Next stop, Sydney Base."
which is where Hunter Vertigo was told to go when the blackout was first initiated. So it seems that they're still searching for their parents. I wonder if Sydney Base is a new PPDC base that we haven't seen yet, or if it's the Sydney Shatterdome that was closed in 2024 due to the anti-kaiju wall that was built to protect Sydney from kaiju attacks, but it was destroyed by Mutavore. If you want to know more about the Mutavore incident, I did a video on that a while ago, so check that out. I'll put the link in the description. It's very interesting. In the last season, the group came across a kaiju graveyard, but now they've stumbled onto a Jaeger graveyard, full of Jaegers that have either been discarded or damaged in battle. I'm trying to figure out which Jaeger this is, but I'm struggling to identify it. Crimson Typhoon is the most notable red Jaeger in Pacific Rim, but the compod we see here isn't the same as theirs. I thought it might have been Saber Athena, but their compod's visor is split into 3, so maybe not. Then I thought maybe it could be Guardian Bravo, but their compod's visor is blue. So I guess I'll hand this over to you. Who do you think this Jaeger could be? Let me know in the comments, help me out here, because I have no idea who this could be. Finally, onto what I think is the best part of this trailer, the sisters. We get a first look at them here, and I think they take inspiration from the kaiju cultists we saw in Pacific Rim. I think they may be a different sect of them, as their robes are much different, but the symbols on their robes do hold similarities. Then one of them says, "The kaiju Messiah has come," which is what they called the boy in the last season. A little background into the kaiju cult: they believe that the kaiju are servants of God that have been sent to punish us for our evil behavior. This is also echoed by Hannibal Chow in Pacific Rim.
Look at them. They believe the kaiju are sent from heaven, that the gods are expressing their displeasure with our behavior. Silly bastards.
So for them to call the boy the kaiju Messiah enforces this belief. And in the Pacific Rim novelization, there's a prayer that the sisters use, and in the prayer, they say, "We are the sisters of the kaiju," which makes me believe that all the priests of this cult are women. And also informs us why this new sect of the cult calls themselves the sisters. We also see that this sister is on top of a kaiju called Bone Spur, showing what we saw last season, which was their ability to tame kaiju to their will, which I am guessing that we will see more of in this season. Here we see the sisters performing a ritual and the boy on top of an altar. The kaiju cultists often make temples out of fallen kaiju like they did with Yamarashi in LA or Reckoner in Hong Kong. But since we're in Australia, the temple must be made out of a new fallen kaiju, which I hope we get to find out which one that is in the season. There's also a symbol that looks similar to the boy's kaiju form on the altar. So this temple must be made in reverence to him. Following this, we see the boy having what appears to be a drift memory or a vision of Apex, who looks to be in a lot of pain. I think this may be a warning of what the sisters are capable of, one he must heed if he wants to escape and survive. Maybe Apex is sending him that warning, which would be interesting because they drifted last season, so maybe that connection is still alive, which would be interesting to see what that means. Now this sister is the only one with white robes and blue markings, which makes me think she's the high priest of this cult. She interests me the most here. Again, her robes are very different, so I'm interested to see what her motivation is for this cult, what her motivation is with the boy. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, we see the boy on the altar, but it seems that they're draining him of blood or injecting him with some kind of fluid. But the prayer that follows, with the words "the child" on the screen, looks like a nightmare he's having that's being brought on by their prayer. So maybe they're gonna sacrifice him, which is terrifying to even think of, but yeah, this looks very worrying. And once again, I'm gonna need your help with this because I have been looking to see what this could mean. This military dog tag belongs to a W. Miller, but that name doesn't sound familiar to me. Does anyone know who this is? I can't think of who it could be. They are talking about going back to finding their parents here, but it can't belong to their parents because their names are Ford and Brina Travis. So yeah, I'm a little stuck here. If anyone can help me out with this, please let me know in the comments who this might belong to. And lastly, which is probably the most interesting part of this trailer, I believe we see the return of Trespasser, which is the first kaiju that attacked Earth in 2013. I didn't believe it at first, even when the AI told them,
"Kaiju Trespasser approaching."
But if you look at the design, the shape of the head, and the two spikes coming out of its back, this is all part of Trespasser's design. Which now begs the question, how is Trespasser back? My theory is that the sisters did some kind of ritual to achieve this, but I'm excited to see how this happened and if they can revive more kaiju that have died in the past. So what are my thoughts on this trailer?
Just maybe, I don't know.
To be honest, I was never a fan of this show. The animation style is not to my taste, especially after Arcane, which has raised the bar for me of what an animated series should look like. I also don't like that this show, along with Uprising, makes Stacker Pentecost's sacrifice meaningless. But this is where the franchise is at now, so I have to go along with it. In regards to this season though, the sisters are the characters that interest me the most. I find them way more interesting than the kids and the boy, who I didn't really like that much in the last season. I hope we get to see old memories of the OG characters though, like we did last season with Herc. But we'll have to wait and see. But what are your thoughts on the trailer? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you all about this. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I am pretty active on there these days, and I love to talk to more fans of Pacific Rim on there. But thank you so much for watching. I'm planning to review and create lore videos on the new comic that came out, Pacific Rim Blackout, once I get it. So look forward to that, and yeah, I'll see you next time.